So I'm just going to stand up here. I'm not going to say anything. And just whenever you feel, you can raise your hand. And the question I'm going to ask you is, when you look at me, standing before you right now, what do you see? It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be a sentence. And then we'll move from there, and I'll tell you guys why we're doing this exercise. So anybody, whenever you feel like you got a word or a phrase or something, you want to throw it out there, you raise your hand.
Successful and trustworthy.
Pretty.
Thank you.
Active.
Okay.
You look nice.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hurt. Anybody else?
Like in shape. Like fit.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? And I want to start with you in the back. I like what she said. Go ahead.
Intelligent.
Thank you. Intelligence. I want to start with you in the back. I like what she said. She said that she was able to see my hurt. And a lot of times when we stand in front of people, a lot of people see what face we put on when we come in public. They'll see we get dressed up real nice, and we're trying to hide everything that we're missing. So they'll see, when I come before you, they'll see my intelligence. They'll see my beauty. They'll see all these great things about me. They'll see I'm in shape. They'll see all these things, but they don't see the hurt. They don't see the pain. They don't see the struggle that I've had to go through behind all the hair and the makeup and the clothes and all those things. So that was just to let you guys know that a lot of times what we see on the outside of people, especially with social media, we can see a lot of people putting stuff out there, and a lot of people would never put the deep pain out in social media, and then we're living in a world where we're always seeing the good, and then we're thinking, what about me? And we know what we're going through in our life, and we say, well, you know, so Sheila over here, she's having a great time, she's having a good life, and we see what everybody is building up that facade, and they're putting on that mask, and they're making themselves something that they may not necessarily be. So I like that she said that she's able to see my hurt, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of some of the things that I've been through that you weren't able to see. So I'm only 25 years old. My birthday was in September. So I just turned 25, and starting just as a young child, there was a lot of things that happened that were just planted, that made me have negative thoughts about myself, about the people who are in my family. I was in a household, and at first when I was younger, it was just me and my older brother, and we used to live with my grandmother, and my mom moved down from Lincoln, North Carolina, so I'm here all the way from North Carolina, and my mom, she ended up started dating someone, and she moved to Charlotte in North Carolina. And then a little bit later, we came and we moved in with her, me and my brother and I. And it just felt like a lot of times I always felt like nobody really loved me. Nobody really cared about me. I have an older sister from my dad, and my dad was not in my life. He was on drugs. He's been on drugs since before I was born. And so I had a stepfather in my life, but my stepfather, he really didn't want kids. And even though my mom, you know, he said he cared about my mom, you could tell that he didn't really want to be a father, but he wanted to be with my mother. And so I was in a situation where I felt like, you know, and it's good, I'm glad I have my mom in my life. And it's good to have a mother, but there's something about having both. It's something that I'm not going to be able to get from my mom, that a dad is supposed to give me. So just already being in that position where I felt like, you know, I needed that love from my dad, and I didn't get it from my stepdad. And I felt like a lot of times my older brother and my sister, that they were showing a lot of favoritism, and I was left out a lot. And so that just started making me seek attention in all the wrong places. And it started out to be a positive motivation for me. So when I say it was a positive motivation, at first I would be in school, and I did graduate from college. I have a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Communications, minor in journalism. So when I was in school, I used to take a lot of pride in what I did in school. And it wasn't because I necessarily cared about myself. I thought that if I did well in school, that maybe somebody would notice me. And somebody would have something nice to say about me, and somebody would push me a little harder, and push me a little further. And so the more that I did well in school, maybe somebody then would pay attention to me. So I would go to school and I would make sure that I was in honors classes, I was in AP classes, I was in IB classes. I was making sure that I made good grades, that I was on the dean's list, that I was in clubs. I was a cheerleader. I danced. I did tap, jazz, ballet, gymnastics. I went to church and I was in stuff in my church, and I was just doing all this stuff because I wanted somebody to validate me. I wanted somebody to tell me that I was doing something, that I was making a difference, and that I wasn't like everybody else. But no matter how much I did those things, I still felt like nobody cared about me. Nobody really loved me. Nobody gave me any attention. So the more that the positive things weren't working, I said, let me try something else. So I started moving into the negative parts of my life, and started doing things that just really, that really started to take me even further into a place where I felt like I wasn't going to be able to get out of. So the good stuff wasn't working, so let me try some bad stuff. So I started finding some interesting guys. And I said, okay, maybe, I have a little boyfriend, and maybe he'll give me some love, and I'll have some attention there. And had several different relationships at a young age. I was in and out, didn't really know what love was, thought I was in love, and wanted to do all these things with all these different people just so I could fill a void. I was chasing a void. And I wasn't really, I did have friends in school that would be drinking and doing the drug use, and that wasn't my thing. I like boys. And so I was doing good in school, but I still did these other things on the side, and nobody paid attention. Nobody seen what I was doing to myself. And I know a lot of times we come to school, we go to health class, and we hear about all these things that are out there, the sexually transmitted diseases and all these things that can happen to us in pregnancies and all this stuff, and we just think that it's in a book. But I want to let you guys know that those things have happened to me. By my 24th birthday, I had sexually transmitted disease 5 different times. I've been in a position to where I thought that if I did these things, it would fill a void, but the only thing it did was make my life worse. And you'll never know the feeling of I was on the way to college, on the highway, going to school, when I got a call from my mother to tell me that I had a sexually transmitted disease. A time where I was supposed to be going to get freedom, I was really putting myself in a position to be hurt. I wasn't able to enjoy my first day of school because I had to go to the nurse's office, and this is their first impression of me. I'm coming in on an academic scholarship, and my first impression going to college was having to go to the nurse's office to get medication because I had done something to my body that I needed to get cleaned up. And not only was it that I had to get medication to clean myself up, now I've caused psychological issues for myself, even more emotional anguish and pain, because now I'm ashamed that this is even happening to me because I know better. So a lot of times we are in situations where we are trying to fill voids with different things, and we don't know that that's only making our problems worse. So I'm going through school, and I'm trying to do better, but even with the friends that I chose, and we don't want to hear that, especially as young people. We think that we can be above our friends, and that maybe she's doing something that I'm not doing, but she's not going to influence me. And I want to tell y'all that is the first thing that we want to dispel today, that your friends, the things that they do, that those things do and can influence you. So don't think that you can be a part of the crowd and not be of the crowd, because whatever they're doing, even if you start off strong, at some point, the more that you're in that environment, it's going to start to rub off on you. So you have to keep people in your circle who are doing great things so that you can all be great. Because if you all are doing the same thing, you're just going to tear each other down. So I went to college, and like I said, I wasn't really into drugs. I wasn't really into drinking. I like boys, and so I got to college, and everybody else is drinking and partying. I'm like, I'm not going to drink and party. I'm going to worry about school. But the more I started hanging with those people, I started drinking. I started smoking. I started partying heavy because I'm hanging with everybody else that's doing it, and I want to be a part of something. So you guys remember, I said I always felt like nobody cared about me. So if I could just do these things so I could fit in, so I didn't get left at home. And when everybody else was being called to go somewhere, that they called me too. So I had to do those things in order to fit in with those people. And I didn't think that was me taking on their traits at the time. But now when I start looking back at my life, I see how the people that I've been around, that they just started rubbing off on me and influencing me. So number one, choose the people that you want in your circle wisely. because those people are going to have an impact on your life. And one thing that I did start noticing even more when I started moving away and becoming my own person, those people I don't even know anymore. I don't even talk to them anymore. So I let these people influence me into doing negative things that was going to wreck my life, and we're not even friends anymore. I don't even talk to these people anymore. So I started moving on in my, just moving on in life, trying to be a better person. And I graduated from college, and I wanted to go celebrate. I wanted to go celebrate the fact that I had graduated from school and I was doing something positive, and I thought that this was going to be a new point in my life, and that everything was going to go right now. So I'm going, and I went to Myrtle Beach to celebrate with my oldest sister. And when I got there, she had one of my niece's father and a friend with her. And so we all there, and I felt a little uneasy. I said, maybe, you know what, maybe I shouldn't stay, because, you know, I don't really know these guys, even though that's my niece's father. I hadn't really been around. I'm like, but you know what, we're already down here, it's packed. I want to have a good time. I just celebrated graduation from college, so I'm just going to go out with them. And, you know, they're older than me. They're in their 30s, and I was only about 22 at the time. And so I'm saying, you know, this will be fine. They'll take care of me. They'll watch over me. And we go out, and we start having a good time, and we get back to the house, and we were partying, and we were out, and we were drinking. And you know how you've been out, and a lot of people will tell you if you go out, and you guys shouldn't know that, but you should be going out by now, I hope. But if you had ever been in a situation where your parents told you, if you go somewhere, don't let anybody give you anything, or, you know, all those types of stuff. Don't put your cup over here, or don't accept just anything from anybody. And so I made sure I followed those rules, but I was still with the people that I came with. And later that night, I had been a victim of a sexual assault. They ended up putting something in my drink to drug me, and I was sexually assaulted by the two people who were there that were supposed to take care of me. These are people who are in my family. They were supposed to protect me from everybody else that was there, and they ended up violating me. So now I feel even worse. I feel like, and at that time I had started changing my life around. I wasn't involved with boys anymore. I was going to do things a little differently. But now I had been violated, and I felt like I lost a piece of myself. I felt shame. I felt guilt. I felt like it was my fault, because maybe I shouldn't have gone in the first place. I knew I didn't feel right, and I started blaming myself for what had happened to me. I felt like I was very traumatized. I felt like nobody would want me after this, and I felt like, you know, maybe I didn't need to live anymore, because life had just been so hard for me. And I remember I'd been depressed. I ended up having to go to therapy. I was on depression medicine. I was on insomnia medicine, all kinds of things, because I was still now even more hurt than when I began, because now this thing had happened to me. Somebody had took advantage of me in a way, so much so where I felt like there was no coming back from this. And so I moved forward, and I started volunteering in a nonprofit organization for other people who had been sexually abused or molested, or been victims of incest in their families. And so I started volunteering there, and I started feeling a little better, getting to know that I wasn't alone in that, and seeing other people who have overcome the same thing. And I felt like it was then possible for me to live a better life. And I started feeling a little better, but it was still something there that was missing that I needed. And I met a young man, and we ended up getting married. And I thought that was going to be the answer to all my problems. Now I'm getting married, I'm going to have some kids, and that'll be the answer to everything. And I'm going to get what everybody ever wants. Every young girl always wants to grow up and get married and have children and do all these great things. So I said, okay, this is going to be it. This is going to be perfect. And I got with my husband, and we were married for all of 3 months, and I was miserable. It was terrible. It was terrible, because I noticed some things about him in the beginning that weren't really a fit for me, but because I wanted what I wanted, and I wanted it right now, and I couldn't be patient to get something better, whenever I was able to understand what I wanted, I went ahead and married him and thought that he was going to be the answer to all my problems, and that he was going to fix everything that had been wrong ever since I was a kid. and I was miserable. And I said, you know what? I got to get out of this situation. So I ended up, and I told you guys that I'm a believer. So, and that's no offense to anyone who doesn't believe, but I'm a believer. So I started praying. I said, God, can you get me out of this? I know I did this. Can you get me out of this situation? And so he ended up letting me find out that my husband had been into transsexuals. He was looking into escorts, all these types of things, and he brought me into this world now where he's looking for those types of things. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So now I'm even more devastated. So he was supposed to fix the problem, and he made it even worse. And that's what we do in life. We look for all these substitutes. We look for the perfect friends. We look for the perfect boyfriend or girlfriend. And we do all these things. I've been involved in homosexual lifestyle, all kinds of things. So I was looking for it everywhere, and I didn't really realize that those things are not what's going to make me happy. Filling the void with other things as a substitute is not what's going to make you happy. You have to deal with the root of the problem, understand why you're having these feelings and why you're feeling this way, and talk yourself through and bring yourself out of that. So even though, you know, maybe your father wasn't in your life, just like my father wasn't in my life, but that doesn't mean that you're doomed to nothing. There's still success out there for you. There's still somebody else out here who will love you when the time is right. But you have to start with yourself. You can't let all of these things around you be a distraction. You have to first realize that there's better. And the first thing when I started to change my life and I started to walk a little bit different, the first thing I had to do was change my mindset. When we are in environments where all we see is negativity, that's all we know, and that's all we think that we're able to attract. So when you think that this is all, that I can only stay here in Panama City, I can never see the world. I'm never gonna graduate from school and get a diploma. I can never have someone in my life that loves me. I can never have somebody that I can trust. When you start thinking these things, these are the things that come to you in your life. So everything that you're thinking, the negative impeding thoughts, all of these issues, these are what you're gonna attract. So the first thing you want to do if you want to make a change in your life and you want something different, you have to change the way you think about things. You have to then start looking at yourself different and know that even though you've had issues and circumstances, you deserve greater things. You have to know that number one, greater exists. And then number two, believe in yourself so much so that you know that you deserve it. When I started thinking that I deserved better than what I'd been getting in life, I didn't let just anybody lead me into a path. And you know, I don't want to, my dad is on drugs. He's been on drugs since before I was born. I mentioned that to you guys. I don't want to be like my dad. So if anybody comes in my space and they're telling me that I have to do these drugs, or they're influencing me, maybe they're not saying, come on, do this with me, but every time they're in my space, they're talking about doing it and they're doing it in my face, I can't allow that to be in my area. Because if I allow that to be in my space, then it's going to suck me in. So we have to start changing our mindset to know that I deserve better. And sometimes you have to walk away from people. I'm a very social person. And I like to have friends. I like to go places. And the third thing that I did, so first I had to believe that there was something better out here for me. Then I had to change my own mindset about the way I thought about myself. That I am beautiful. I always had low self-esteem. I didn't think I was pretty. Didn't think anyone cared about me. So I had to believe in myself that I am beautiful. That I do have people who love me. That I am important in this world. Everybody who's here, everybody who was born, you're born for a reason. You have a purpose and you are important. You were put here to do something that no one else can do. So if you don't do it, it won't be done. You're important and you're valuable, and you have to, if no one else ever tells you that, you have to stare yourself in the mirror, look yourself in the mirror in the mornings and tell yourself, you are important, you're valuable, and you make a difference. And the more you start telling yourself that, the more you start believing that, and the more you start seeing the way you're gonna change, the way you think about yourself. And the more you change the way you think about yourself, new things are gonna come into your space. New opportunities are gonna come that you've never seen before. New people who actually care about you and want the best for you as well, they're gonna start coming into your life. So then once you do that, the third thing that you need to do is to start removing people who are only going to pull you back into that negative lifestyle. Like I was telling you guys, I'm very social. I love to go places. I like to have friends. I want to go do things with my friends. And one thing that I started noticing when I started changing is that I want to go over here. I want to grow over here. And these people, they don't want to go and they don't want to grow. So imagine, can I use you for a second? So imagine if I'm holding your hand and we're going to go, I want to go over here, but you want to go over there. So let's try to go where we want to go. I want to go this way and you want to go that way. So you try to walk back towards your principal and I'm going to try to walk over here. Let's see how far we can get still holding hands. So go ahead and turn that way. Turn the opposite way. Yes. Yeah, you go this way. I'm going to go this way. Go, come on. Let's go. Now how far can we get? How far can we get? We can't get anywhere. So I had to realize in order for me to go this way, if I want to go this way, I have to let go of her hand. And that might be hurtful because we're friends. We've been friends for 20 years and I'm only 25. We've been friends for 20 years. She's my best friend. But if I want to go this way, but she wants to go that way, we can't hold hands and still go in the same way. We have to walk in the same direction. So I had to realize that, you know, even though I love these people, I'm going to have to love them from over there because this is where I want to go. And if they want to stay, maybe they'll follow me later. Maybe I won't get too far and they'll still see my head peeking and then they'll come this way and see that maybe this way is better. It doesn't have as many holes in the street and barbed wire fences and stuff to catch us up. This is the pretty way we want to go. Maybe they'll follow me later, but for right now, I have to do this for me. So you have to live for you. You have to know what you want and you have to be okay with the fact that maybe she can't go with me. So you have to, when you start building your confidence up, it's not going to matter what she thinks if she talks about you. It's not going to matter what she thinks if she doesn't want anything, but you know you want better. Those things are not going to matter as much because you know who you are. So sometimes you're going to have to let go of some people who might not be the best influence. And that doesn't mean you love them any less. You don't have to talk about them at the locker. You don't have to stand by the water fountain and say, girl, you know, I can't be a friend no more because you don't have to do that. You can go in silence. And even when you move in silence, what you do is going to speak for you. So if you have friends, and that's one thing I noticed with some of my friends, they knew they couldn't call me to go to the club anymore. They knew they couldn't just call me and be talking about any old kind of thing anymore. And it wasn't because I said, girl, you know you can't call me and you know I'm not going there with you. But they started seeing that I wasn't going those places anymore. And I wasn't cursing anymore. And I wasn't angry anymore and belligerent and wanting to fight people and wanting to lash out because I was hurt. When they started seeing me change, they didn't even bring that to me anymore. They respected that, and then they started saying, well, if she can change and she was just like me, maybe I can change. So then the fourth thing that we can do once we start to realize that maybe we might have to walk alone, then we start realizing that we can really impact people, especially the people close to you. Because when they see that you're doing better, they're going to automatically want to be better. They're going to want to be better because they see you doing better. If y'all all doing the same thing, like we're going to hold each other back. We're going to hold each other down. So sometimes you have to be the leader. Everybody says they want to say they're a leader, but they don't ever want to step out of their comfort zone and not be a part. If you want to lead other people, if you want to be an example for other people, you got to step away from the group. And it hasn't been the easiest thing. I get very lonely. I'm only 25. So there's a lot of things that I want to do. I don't have anybody to do it with because they want to do other things that I just can't do anymore because I want better for my lifestyle. I want a better life. I want to be somebody that when someone looks at me that they don't see the hurt anymore. That they see the intelligence. That they see that I'm in shape. I've been almost 200 pounds. I lost about 20-something pounds. When I started letting things go and started working on myself, I realized that even that physical fitness, I wanted somebody to look at me and know that, you know, if you're struggling with obesity or you're struggling with any type of eating disorder or anything like that, that you can be healthy. So that was even something as little as that. You know, I had a negative self-image and I thought, you know, I'm not gonna be able to lose weight. So even when I started getting negative influences away, I was able to do something positive. So now I can look at myself in the mirror and somebody can see that I'm in shape. Because I took the time to care about myself and to do it the right way. And to really love myself. It was times when I didn't think maybe I wasn't that smart. And I do a lot of writing now, and I do some poetry, and now I believe that I can do it. I graduated from college. But I had to change my mindset I had to believe, number one, that there is better out here in the world. Number two, I had to change myself in the way I thought about myself. Number three, I had to move outside of my environment and remove some people from my lifestyle. And number four, when I started caring more about myself to walk into a different space, I started opening up more opportunities for myself. So if you guys just can remember those four things, and to know that if you're dealing with anything that I've dealt with, feeling unloved, feeling like nobody cares about you, lacking attention, if you didn't have a father in your life, maybe you didn't have a father or a mother, but you didn't have a father, I didn't have a father. If you're dealing with substance abuse, if you're dealing with sexual immorality, if you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing in a situation where you feel like you have to be a part of the crowd, if you have negative thoughts about yourself that you don't really love yourself, you don't think you're smart, you don't see yourself doing anything different, if you have been sexually assaulted, whether it's molestation as a young child, or if someone said some things to you that weren't right, that you shouldn't have heard, they touched you in a way that you shouldn't have been touched. If you have a negative image so much so to where you have an eating disorder, or you're overweight, or anything like that, if you're dealing with any of the things that I've dealt with, I'm standing here to talk to you, to let you guys know that it's possible to be better. It's possible to go beyond the hurt. It's possible to make a difference in life. I never dreamed that I would be standing before people telling them about my life. I didn't think my life was all that important. I didn't think it was all that great. But now I've been put in a position to where I can be an example to let other people know that if you're dealing with any of the things that I've dealt with or am dealing with, that you can overcome them. Because I'm a living example that there's something else out there beyond this, what you see every day. You don't have to be the person that you see across the table from you. You don't have to be like your mom was or like your dad was. I had my own stepfather tell me I'm nothing and I'm never gonna be anything. And instead of letting that keep me at nothing and never being anything, I let that be fuel to show him that I'm everything, and I'm going to be everything, and I can be somebody, and that I can do something different. So you don't have to be like your grandma. You don't have to be like your father. You don't have to be like anybody else. You can be you. You can be unique, and there can be people who's gonna love you for that, and you can make a difference in the world. And the only reason I know is because I've been able to do it, and I am doing it right now, and there's even more things that I'm going to do. But you can't stop here. If you stop here, you never know what's on the other side. If I stopped, even suicide, I wanted to commit suicide several times because I felt like there was nothing else to live for. But if I stopped there, I wouldn't be able to see today. I wouldn't be able to stand here and let you guys know that there's another side of life where every day is not painful, where I can wake up and smile and actually be happy. It's not fake. It's not the smile that I had to put on when I came in here and I asked you guys, well, what do you guys see in me? It's not that. It's real. And I enjoy life, and I love waking up, and I know now that there's something more out there for me. And if you've dealt with anything that I've dealt with, you can be the same person standing here telling another young girl that they're beautiful, that there's more for them, that they can be somebody in this world. And you don't have to be like everybody else. And you can overcome anything that's been thrown in your way. And you might think you're young and nobody understands you, but it starts now. If you wait till later, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss the opportunity to be great. If I said I'll wait till I'm 30, how many years I would have missed out on 5 years of greatness, of 5 years of waking up and being happy. So if you start today, you won't have to get prepared later. So start working on today. Make better decisions today so that you can be a better person tomorrow. So what I want to do right now, I know I talked about a lot of different things, and I want to make it an opportunity to where we interact. You guys get enough lectures in class. So I want to be able to interact with anybody. If there's anything if anybody has been dealing with anything, I know we have counselors in here. If anybody has been dealing with any issues that I've dealt with, I'll be the first one to stand and be honest and let you know. I've told you guys a little bit of my life and some stuff I've dealt with. So if anybody is in here, they want to ask me any questions, number one, I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And number two, if you want to talk about anything, maybe you've been through something similar to what I've gone through. If it's just something you just want to get off your chest, we're in a safe environment. Even if you don't want to talk in front of everybody, there's counselors here. You can pull someone aside and let them know what it is that you've been dealing with, so that you can hear some honest things and that you can get some guidance. Sometimes we want to go to our friends, but they're not doing any better than us, and they can't give us good advice. So you want to go to somebody who's been there, who's moving, that can give you something positive to do with the frustrations that you have. So there's number one, any questions, and number two, if anybody wants to share anything. And we're in a non-judgment zone. Nobody can go outside of here and talk about what it is that you want to talk about. So if you want to share anything or you want to ask any questions, it's time where you can do so. And I'm open to answer anything, and if you just want to get something off your chest, you can do that as well. Any questions, any concerns? Anybody want to say? Don't be shy.